Welcome to Yahoo Finance Presents. Delighted to have NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace with us. Bubba, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, man.
So we've been wanting to talk to you for so long. You had such a huge year. Let's start with the newest news, which is that your new single car team, which is going to start racing in 2021, 2311, announced a bunch of new sponsors today, including a lot of publicly traded companies that we cover at Yahoo Finance, DoorDash, McDonald's, there's Columbia Sportswear. So let's talk about the team and teaming up, obviously, with Demi Hanlon and Michael Jordan. And, you know, Denny, a veteran in the sport, and with MJ's involvement, I mean, the sky's kind of the limit for you guys. What are you hoping to accomplish in the first year? And when you sign on big sponsors like this, what is their appeal? What are you guys telling them?
Yeah, well, right now it's trying to get our feet underneath us so we can, land on the right foot and get the right foot going for when Daytona rolls around. So, yeah, it's all coming together pretty quick, even announcing the deal back in, October 1 or September, whenever it was, right around that time frame. It's where we're at now, announcing partners. It's been a lot of hard work and behind the scenes from Denny, from myself, from people and personnel at the shop, getting things in order. So I think our guys are moving into the shop this week, so which is awesome. Get things rolling there, so that'll be good. But no, I think a lot of these deals came about from last year for sure. It sparked a lot of conversation, a lot of interest, or everything that went on last year. And as much as it's important for having the on-track branding and having the financial support coming through, it's more important for what's going on off the racetrack and making a positive impact and sharing our beliefs for social activism and racial equality and just making this world a better place. So that's every partner we announced today, every brand, that's what they're most keen on is that side of things.
Yeah, in the last few months, I saw even before you announced that you were leaving Richard Petty Motorsports and you announced the launch of 2311, you were kind of a sponsor gathering machine. I mean, you announced new endorsement deals. It felt like there was a new one announced every few days. I was following it on Instagram. There was, Square Cash App, there was Columbia Sportswear, there was Kingsford Charcoals. When those sponsors were approaching you, obviously there was news interest. You were in the news. You had made a lot of noise off the track. What were they saying and why were they coming to you and what were those conversations like?
Yeah, they wanted to be a part of a social and real movement and making positive and real change in our community and in our nation and ultimately in the world to make it a better place for our next generation coming up through, to educate them and to have them prepared for what life is all about when it's thrown at them. So that was the gist of every conversation, the more important facts. And then we would be like, well, hey, we race cars, for a living and we need financial support. And they're like, yeah. No, that's obviously the given. But what are we going to do to grow our brands together and grow our relationships together to create and keep pushing real change and to keep pushing that envelope of racial equality and equality for all walks of life, to making us feel as one, the human race that we are, making it as one, showing that sign of unity. That's what we focused on the most.
This really all started, or at least your huge year started, it feels like ages ago, but, the pandemic was already underway. We're still amid the pandemic, but it started when you really spurred the whole sport to ban Confederate flags at the races. And obviously that got so much attention. That was just this huge achievement. I mean, as you look back on 2020, especially weird considering the pandemic, considering the racial justice movement that really swept the country with everything that happened, what else do you feel like you achieved in the sport or outside the sport in the past year?
Yeah, no, one thing that motivates me to get next year going is, I became a household name off the racetrack. And it's like, man, I want to become a household name on the racetrack, for the success we have. And now with everything that's in place, with the partnership with JGR, the partnership with Toyota, there's no excuses for why we couldn't run up front and contend for wins and be a household name eventually on the racetrack. And there's a lot of work to be done behind the scenes and from our personnel, our guys working on our race cars and everything. But it also comes down to me. There's a lot of pressure on me to go out and to perform and compete. And so I'm excited about that. I think if you look at everything that was thrown at me this year, I can just about manage my way through any rough traffic and handle the weight of that. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity. That's what it's all about next year.
Let's get kind of real serious about this stuff. When we talk about everything that happened and everything that you stood for, NASCAR is an interesting sport for it to have happened inside of. I was recently talking with NBA star Chris Paul about what went on with the NBA bubble, and that's a sport where the athletes for years have been very outspoken on social issues. You sort of expect that in the NBA. In NASCAR, a lot of fans looked at what had happened and they said, oh, now things are getting political. A lot of people say, well, this isn't really politics, it's racial and social justice. I mean, what do you say to those fans who looked at the events of 2020 and everything that happened in NASCAR, including the show of unity when all the drivers, showed that support behind you, and they looked at events like that and they said, oh, no, now NASCAR is getting political. Well, what do you say to that?
It's not political. It's doing the right thing. If politics is doing the right thing, then okay, but it's not. It's people that, they look to the athletes. They look to us as their entertainment. They look to us as their escape from the real world. Well, the real world is affecting the athletes. It's affecting us, and we have to stand up for that. And so we want to make this a better place for everybody. It's not just like, oh, we live a lavish lifestyle and we avoid all these topics. No, these are topics that relate directly to us. In my sport, it's not so much to everybody as it is to me, but throughout all sports, we want to be on the right side of change and the right side of history. And, talking about racial equality, standing up for the innocent killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and countless others, that's not political. That is just stating facts here and trying to do the right thing and stand up for what's right.
Absolutely. And as you've thought about these issues, I mentioned other sports because really this kind of took the entire sports world by storm in the last year. Who are some other pro athletes, either within NASCAR or in other sports, that you've looked to as role models who you think have done a lot right, either within their sport or even the decisions they make off the court, off the track, off the field?
Yeah, I look at Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, him and I have gotten to grow a relationship throughout all of this, and I've been a huge fan of his for years and years now. And so to have that relationship, one, is badass. Really cool to be able to be in communication with him. But seeing how he's a way much bigger activist than I am across a ton of platforms, but he stands up for racial equality and how he pushes the whole community of F1 to do that and to follow that is very powering. And that motivates me to preach that same stuff to our group of drivers inside NASCAR, inside our four walls here. So it's I think he's at the top of the list for sure.
When we look back at the last year and now finally we have this encouraging news of a vaccine, so maybe we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But what has it been like for you, not only the media and the kind of news making of the things you've stood for and the sponsorships and partnerships and bringing on Michael Jordan, but even just you look back at the season and going through the racing season, what has it been like amid the pandemic?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been different. Things have definitely slowed down a lot, which has been a good thing, I'd say. Not as busy, but still doing a lot of media stuff. I mean, throughout the thick of the season this year, I would have to charge my phone 5 times throughout the day because the battery ran dead from doing a bunch of Zoom calls, I never knew what Zoom was before the pandemic hit. But that's kind of how things shifted. So as it's provided a little bit of a slower pace for things, you're still doing a lot of answering the same questions and doing all this stuff. So it is what it is. I mean, I think next year it helps out a little bit, as much as I don't like to say the pandemic helps anything. I'm going to be super busy next year once it gets back to normal capacity. So if we can start out by slow rolling it a little bit with some Zoom calls, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, the first few races when NASCAR returned to start its season amid the pandemic, once they started to allow a small number of fans, there was a lot of attention paid to the fact that there were some groups of new fans, people at the races who said, well, I've never cared about NASCAR before, but now with what Bubba's doing, I do care. How can the sport move forward in that regard? I mean, we talk a lot about NASCAR wanting to attract younger fans, wanting to keep the sport fresh and exciting. What do you think the sport kind of at a macro level needs to do in the next couple of years to attract new fans?
Keep the foot on the gas, no pun intended, but we still got to keep pushing for what's right, keep pushing the sport in the right direction, show the new fans that, they are welcome, get the word of mouth out there, get NASCAR back to where it was. There's a lot of work to be done to get back to those stages, but get people out to come out to a race and enjoy it and cheer on their favorite driver, team, whoever it may be, and just simply enjoy their time. The same as showing up to an NBA or an NFL game. You know, your favorite team is there, your favorite players there. Same as a NASCAR race. Your favorite drivers there. Come on out. You shouldn't be shined away from our sporting events just because of some materialistic thing. But you should come there, and if your driver doesn't win, then be mad. That's when you should be mad, when your driver doesn't win.
And then in the next year, you know, with the new single car racing team and working with MJ, what's kind of your pie in the sky ambition? What do you hope to achieve on and off the track with the new race car team?
Yeah, I think obviously we want to start out on the right foot, but you know, with starting a new team, there comes a lot of hurdles and a lot of obstacles to get through. So we just got to make sure to, you know, dot our I's, cross our T's, and not forget anything. I think that's the beginning stages of a new race team. Just don't forget the little things that end up being important things that could hinder our performances at the racetrack. Just make sure we're all buttoned up by the time we do get to Daytona and get our season underway. So, but we want to, you know, go out and compete and run and get a chance for playoffs, contend for a playoff spot, eventually get us a win for sure. You win, you're in the playoffs. So I think we have some realistic opportunities to do that next year. I just have to be ready for every opportunity, every weekend coming up, and be able to capitalize on those moments.
Yeah, you know, having 23XI be a single car team, it kind of puts even more focus on you kind of as a standalone driver. You know, a lot has been made in the last year, the fact that you are the only black driver at NASCAR's highest level. And I wanted to ask you, is that a mantle that, you know, you were thinking about before 2020? Is that something that's become more important and apparent to you? And what does it mean to you?
No, it definitely, you know, has always been there. I've always kind of had that label above my name, and that's okay. But you know, seeing how 23XI wants to take a step of faith with me, and try to prolong my career, but also use this as a moment to continue to create change and stuff we've worked on this year. To continue to do that, that's important across every single board of the race team, the partners, the personnel that work there. We all want to, you know, win races and run up front, but we all want to be great human beings to one another at the end of the day.
Bubba, let's end this way. What do you think you've learned about yourself as a pro athlete in 2020?
That no matter how high the tide is, we can weather through the storm. So it's there's a lot of big moments, big pressure moments, but we seem to deliver each and every time.
All right, awesome. Bubba Wallace, thanks for joining us.
Cool. Thank you.